Hey everyone, this is Radical Reactions 99. Recently, I had the incredible opportunity of participating in the Domino Mania 2020 collaboration, hosted by Duplex Domino and Zamanos. They invited me to build a machine for the video, and this is what I built. If you haven't seen the video of the machine, I'd recommend watching that first. So I had a lot of thoughts on a lot of tricks in this machine, so I decided I'd do something I haven't actually done before for one of my machines. I'm going to be doing a detailed behind the scenes video, where I'm going to be going through all of the tricks in the machine, sharing my thoughts on them, and also showing some cool behind the scenes footage. So let's get started. So let's start out with the first trick in the machine, which is the Domino Mania 2020 reveal. So I knew right from the start of the machine that I wanted to have the words Domino Mania 2020 get revealed in some way. And what I came up with was I would put the letters of Domino Mania on the dominoes and have a ball push them all over. And for 2020, I had a bunch of cards taped together, and I was going to have that fall over. And as for the fails that this trick had, it was actually really reliable. The one thing that happened kind of on a consistent basis was, before I had this little piece of cardboard here, the ball would usually have a little too much speed and go past there. But it didn't happen as much after I put that there. And then there were a couple times that it failed for pretty random reasons, like the string not getting pulled out from underneath the ball, or sometimes a domino wouldn't fall on here. But it was very reliable. Overall, I think this is a really good trick. I think that the Domino Mania domino reveal is very satisfying, and the 2020 reveal is kind of surprising, I guess. You're not really expecting it. Or maybe you are. I don't know. One more thing, you might notice in the main video when I filmed it, while this ball was going down the track, it wasn't really like in the center of the screen like how it is right now on screen. It was more like this, and the reason for that is I wanted the viewer to be able to read the Domino Mania 2020 and have enough time to read it, and I wanted them to be able to see it clearly and make it sort of like the main focus of the shot, because let's be honest, the ball rolling down the track is really not the most important part of the machine. That's also why I slowed it down with these Connects pieces on there. That's a classic way of slowing down a ball on a track. So, yeah. So the next trick in this machine is the Dustpan Trick, and wait. So the next trick in the machine is the Dustpan... Next trick in this machine is the Dustpan Trick, and in case you couldn't tell by those two bloopers, this trick gave me quite a few problems. So basically what happens is the ball rolls around, and this little lever here kicks the ball up there, hits the domino, which tilts the dustpan down, and the ball rolls down like that. And a problem that I ran into was that after this lever falls down, it'll be in the way of the ball. So when this triggers like that, it'll just stop, like that. So here's the solution that I came up with eventually. After it swings around, it catches onto this magnet and sticks there. And I think it looks quite satisfying when it just goes around and sticks in the perfect spot. But all in all, this trick was by far the most failed and frustrating trick in the machine. This trick gave me so many problems. Sometimes when this swung around, it wouldn't catch on the magnet like that, and the ball would just hit it. Sometimes it wouldn't kick the ball high enough, and it would just go like that, and not go onto the track. But the thing that happened the most was this structure here is actually very unstable, as you saw with those bloopers. So it would constantly, over and over, tip down before it was supposed to. And yeah, that got really annoying after a while. That caused a lot and I mean a lot. Probably most of the fails in this machine were caused by this lever going early. You... Hold on. So, yeah, that was kind of annoying, but overall, I think the trick is pretty cool. I really like the subtle tipping of the dustpan and the perfectly sticking in place most of the time magnets. I think it's a pretty good trick. So the next trick in the machine is the frisbee trick, and I actually have a lot of stuff to say about this one. First of all, for the trick, I was originally just going to have this ball right here, roll around in there, tip the frisbee, roll it on the track, and then that would be it. But I thought that wouldn't really be interesting enough, so I also added the ping pong ball in there that would roll around, and then it would trigger this ball, which would tip the frisbee. But the issue I ran into was that I couldn't find a way to get the ping pong ball out of the frisbee before this ball rolled around and tipped it. Because it looks really messy if this ball just rolls around and tips it while the ping pong ball is still rolling around in there. And it took a lot of different methods, but I eventually came up with this. You can see that the lever that the ping pong ball hits is attached to this little card. And on that card, you can see there's a little piece of tape that's sticky side up. And when the ball rolls over that, it sticks to the tape and it pushes over the lever, so when the lever falls, it pulls the card, but the ball's stuck to it, and it falls off. So I had to get kind of creative to figure that out. And yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. Another interesting thing is I was originally going to have the ball roll around in there twice, like this. But it wasn't really reliable enough. It would kind of roll all over the place, and it wouldn't have enough speed to knock over the lever. So I had to just go with it once, but I think it's still pretty neat. If you look really closely at the frisbee, you can see there's like a little slope of tape right there. And that is there, so when this ball rolls around in there and tips the frisbee will roll a little bit, and this will align perfectly with the tricks track, and the ball will roll up on top of it, and it will roll off. And I think it actually wouldn't work if that was there, because the ball wouldn't have anything to direct it onto the tricks track, it would just stay in the frisbee, which it actually did several times, but we'll get to that later. And since the tape needs to be put in such a precise position, you're probably wondering how I reset it perfectly every time. So here's what I did. You can see, if you look very closely, that I actually drew a little line on the frisbee, and I covered it with tape so it wouldn't wipe off. Then every time I would reset, I would find that little mark, and I would line it up with the crack in the box, kind of like that. So that's how I put it in the same place every time. As for fails the trick has, it was actually mostly reliable. There were a couple problems with it. Sometimes the ball wouldn't push over the lever. Other times the frisbee wouldn't go onto the Hot Wheels track, it would actually like slide past there. Sometimes the ball would stay in the frisbee like I mentioned earlier. But overall, I don't think it was really too bad. And I overall think it's probably in my top 2 favorite tricks in the machine. The other one we'll get to later. I'm actually going to talk about a connection now, which is this launch over the dustpan trick. Actually, I'll be honest, this actually came when I sort of backed myself into a corner and couldn't really get it over the dustpan trick any other way other than launching it. But I think it's actually kind of cool. It's kind of unexpected to see a big ball like just fly up from the table. Another interesting little detail is the little bullseye thing that I added right there. I think it just really adds to the trick. So it kind of came out of some bad planning, but I think it's really neat nonetheless. The next trick in the machine is the ball that slides down the connects rod and then slides off. So I honestly don't have a whole lot to say about this trick, except that it was pretty reliable. There weren't a lot of fails with it, except for a couple of really strange cases. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say about it. So the next thing is one of the smaller tricks in the machine, which is the rubber band launcher. I actually got this a while ago, and I always wanted to include it in the machine, but I couldn't really think of any ideas for how to do it. But recently I was looking through some stuff and I found it, and I thought this would be a cool thing to use in this machine. Originally the trick was going to be a bit more complicated. I was actually going to have a marble roll down the rubber band, fall off, and then it would trigger this. But it was pretty unreliable. It didn't work very well. Sometimes the marble would fall off before it was supposed to. So eventually I was just forced to trim it down to just the rubber band getting launched. The only thing was, this left a lot of empty room on the table, so eventually I decided I'd just put up some Domino Mania themed decorations, and I think it actually makes the machine look really good. I was also originally going to have the rubber band shoot over a piece of paper instead of a capel plank, because I thought that the piece of paper was all that the rubber band was able to knock over. But the paper turned out to be a little too light to pull the string, and sometimes it would get caught in the gap between the wall and the table, so yeah, that didn't really work too well, so eventually I just changed it to 2 taped together planks. This trick actually had quite a few fails, not too many, but there were a couple fails. The main one being, before I had this blue domino there, the launcher was supposed to hit the black lever that triggers the rubber band launcher, but since the black lever and the red thing that shoots out from the launcher are both pretty narrow, it didn't really hit the lever too much. It missed a lot, so eventually I added this blue domino, which would widen the target a little bit. And that worked a little better, but sometimes the domino would sort of twist and it would still fail. But yeah, it worked pretty well most of the time. The next trick is the tilting box on track thing. I haven't come up with a name for it. This is honestly probably one of my favorite tricks in the machine because of how many times the box and track thingy gets used. So the first thing that happens is this tips down and the ball rolls out. But what you might not have noticed is that when it does that, this little thing there actually falls down. And that was because when this ball eventually goes onto there, I didn't have enough room to put a track there, so my only option was to have it fall down. And I think it looks pretty cool to have both of those fall down at the same time. One of the issues I ran into while making this trick was raising up this box and lever thing, because I was originally going to have a lift with a track on it, raise it up, and then the ball would roll down it. But that was actually really unreliable. It was too heavy to move. So I eventually had this weird little connects lever thingy that pops up and pushes the box up a little bit. And it also, if you see the string connected to it, it actually also triggers that ball. So yeah, it works like this. Sometimes it triggers the ball. So when the big marble goes down here, it actually hits this billiard ball, knocking it off the connects piece and rolling it into the domino in a similar fashion to the classic billiard ball chain trick. Originally I was going to have the big marble roll down a cardboard track into the domino, but that didn't really work well because, as you can see there, it can't actually be above the edge of the domino because then it can't go onto the track, which meant that I couldn't really angle the track that much, so the ball wouldn't really roll down it. So I changed it to this fun little connection here that resembles the billiard ball chain, and I think it's pretty cool. Another interesting thing that you might not notice is that the string on this domino is actually redirected by this popsicle stick, since I didn't want any of the strings on any of these other dominoes to get in the way of it. The last real trick in the machine is the tilting tricks track curve. And I'd had an idea of something like this for a while, but I didn't actually build it in the machine until now. And I think I'll share a little bit on how it works, because it's both simple and interesting at the same time. You can see that this block right here is preventing the thing from tilting. And as soon as you remove that, this heavy ball that's on the lever will push down this end of the lever, pushing this end up and tilting down the tricks track, so the ball rolls down there. But the ball rolls off of there, which allows it to tilt back to its normal position and roll into the cup. You can see that I put several barriers, like post-it notes, on the track so the ball doesn't fly off, because sometimes that would happen in testing. And the trick was actually very reliable. It never actually failed on camera, which is pretty amazing. Sometimes it failed while I was testing it and not filming an actual take, but it never actually failed on camera, which is pretty good. And overall, it's actually a pretty cool trick. Even the motion is very subtle, but it's pretty cool. So there's a couple things I want to say about the end of the machine. First of all, you might notice that my bookshelf table actually looks a lot better than it does in some of my other machines. And that's because I recently got a new table covering for it, which is basically just paper that kind of looks like wood that we stuck to the table. Because what used to happen was whenever I'd peel tape off the table, it would take a little bit of paint off, and after a while the table had a lot of white marks on it and it looked really ugly. So after a while we found this table covering, stuck it to the table, and it actually looks really good. It doesn't peel off with tape, so yeah, I don't think I'll be having this problem anymore. Also, when the white ball rolls into the cup and down the track, in the main video, you'll see that it goes off screen to trigger the next part of the collab. But if you saw the screen link version in the close-up video, you can see that the ball actually rolls into this little secret cup, as it says on the sign, because I actually lost a couple ping pong balls through that hole in the cube shelf. So I put out this little thing to catch the ball. I think it makes the machine like actually sort of have a goal, even though you don't see it on camera. Like, it would be boring to just end a machine with a ball falling off a track and that's it. Ball into a cup isn't really much better, but still, I think it makes the machine a bit more purposeful. Also, a funny thing, you can't see it in the working take, but in that take, the ball actually did not land in the cup. But since you can't see it on camera, I figured it didn't really matter. One more thing about the machine as a whole. You might have noticed in some of the videos that I have this like slanted wood board on my bed. And that's there because if you take it away, you can see that if I knock a domino onto the bed, it just stays there. And this actually caused a lot of fails before I figured out a solution to the problem. It also caused a couple fails in the hole punch machine. So yeah, my next machine, I'm going to be moving this table a little bit further away from my bed. But I didn't want to do that since I already had everything set up on the table and I didn't want to break anything. So eventually, I came up with this solution to have a big piece of wood on my bed, and the dominoes would simply slide off and fall down there. It's a nice solution. It actually failed a couple times, but overall, not too bad. Now a quick summary of the whole machine and what I think of it. I think the overall machine turned out really good. The goal of Domino Mania was to showcase the style of the people who built it. And I think it actually shows off my style quite well. I think my style is complicated, but not so complicated that you can't really understand what's going on. And kind of a mix of smaller tricks, complicated connects and track tricks, and foreign object tricks. And you can really see a good mix of all of that in the machine. So I think that this machine really represents my style, and yeah. Alright, so I've basically finished destroying the machine. I basically just have to put these things away into their respective bins now. So we have a lot of connects, a lot of dominoes, and over here we have Hot Wheels tracks, Capla planks, playing cards, and card pieces and stuff like that. Train tracks, balls, I use the frisbee to store the balls, tricks track, blocks and supports of any kind, one cardboard track, one very lonely cardboard track, Hubalino and Lego, not a lot of that, miscellaneous and foreign objects, and a ton of tape and stuff to throw away. So now I'm going to just put these back into their respective bins, and then I'm done. Ooh, finally, it's done. Take one. Oh, hold it. Guess I'm building a machine for Domino Mania. Take two. Take three. I knew that was gonna happen at least once. Take 11. Take 17. I really gotta move this table away from my bed. Take 30. Take 57. Take 58. Take 66. Take 70. Take 77. Take 81. Take 82. Take 85. Ugh. Take 86. Take 89. Take 92. Take 98. Ah. Take Radical Reactions 99. Hold on. Oh. Take 102. Take 110. Take 112. Hold on. Domino Man. Take 115. Wait, look. Take 131. Take 137. Hold on. Take 147. Take 151. Take 177. What? Take 200. The string is wrapped around the other string, caught in the pegs of the tricks track, and wrapped around there. Take 206. It didn't even trigger. Take 208. Take 215. Yes! Woo! So basically that's it for the behind the scenes of the Domino Mania machine. If you watched this whole video, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I guess that's it for me. So, I'm Radical Reactions 99. See ya.